Okay, I'm gonna briefly review everybody's portfolio all in one video. So everybody's welcome to look at everybody else's video and my comments, and then if you want to skip ahead, you're certainly welcome to do that. So as I review these, I'm looking at the guidelines, keeping in mind the description and the audience and navigability, conventions in terms of written conventions, not so much conventions of website navigability. And then we will be discussing and writing the reflective memos the last week of class. So here we go. So first is Hillary. We looked at this in class. The website look is really, it's clean, it's easily understandable and navigable. So like this bar, for example, is maintained the same in each tab. I think it's a good idea to have the text as part of the website, because then you don't have to, for example, download and open a Word doc or a PDF. Sometimes that can get to be kind of a hassle. Think about if you want to include a photo or just make it go away. Same with this, like maybe you don't need to introduce yourself. Maybe an introduction to the portfolio, going back to the purpose, something like that. And let's see, instructional video. You have some formatting to clean up there, It's good that your video is embedded in here and it'll actually run after you click it. So I think this would be, an interesting website for a prospective employer. Now we go on to J, and is that Chicago maybe? So he's just got a very short little bio. His layout is more like a blog, and so keep in mind that if you do this blog layout, oftentimes the layout will be in reverse chronological order. So like the last thing you did will be at the top. This looks good, easy to read, easy to understand. The photos are helpful, and he's got his references, links to his other work, reflections. So it's, this is, like we said, with the audience is a prospective employer, but he's got all of the elements of the assignment that it, clearly he did this for his video works fine with no permission necessary. One other thing is, rather than having to go back home to get to your next summary and complaint series, do you want to have a bar up here that allows me to get from the barbell instructional video to the summary, complaint, response, etc. Formatting needs some attention, but I think these letters inside the document itself seem like a good choice. No secondary program necessary. Stock photos might not be the best choice, because I'm imagining that employers will recognize those stock photos. Otherwise, looks good. Let's see. This one, Jorge's, looks easy to navigate, easy to understand. This is a good photo. It looks, the layout of this, speaking about the author's sense of purpose, like my first impression with this photo and this layout is that you maybe are an actor or a model, somehow artistic in some way. Maybe that's true. I forget what your major is. But keep in mind that if you are, I don't know, for example, like we're going into an MBA program or something like that, do you want to present yourself as, somebody who's in the arts versus some other field of study? Another stock photo you might want, well, that actually works with your topic of the complaint. I think the white on black can work. You might need to bump up your font slightly for people with older eyes, that it might be slightly more difficult to read. But that looks good. The layout is easy to navigate, easy to find information. And the video, yeah, that's fine. That there's a play button in the middle. You might want your audience to be able to locate this frame a little bit easier, maybe a white outline or something like that. Is there a problem with your? There we go. Now it's playing. It's just my lousy internet. Then the written instructions below. Looking good? Okay. And then your reflection will go on the last page, and your feasibility proposal is something that's going to be coming up. So here's Josh. Who was this? Jay. This is what I was kind of mentioning before. Like here I can go from his summary to summary complaint to his instructions, and I can jump around. And video looks fine. It's going to play. Wix and some of these other websites, they will force you into the center format. I would imagine that left is better just for general purposes. It's easier to read text that's left hand justified over here. So consider reformatting that. And nice that you've got the actual poster, and people might even recognize that. You never know. The letters look good. Yeah, the whole thing is easy to read, intuitive. Yeah, looking good. Sloan. Sloan, you need an apostrophe between your N and your S. And I think this works. Super brief, sparse. I think that's all right. Clean, easy to read, big text. And here's your video. With this video, yeah, I think you did it on your cell phone, I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly. So is it possible, because this is vertically oriented video inside a horizontally oriented frame, is it possible to reformat? Oh, no, this looks okay. Yeah, is it possible to reformat this so that this image is slightly larger, because knitting is a little bit complicated. I remember getting a little bit confused even during the video. Good, looks good. You might want to clean up how many hard returns you have here, because there's a lot of white negative space in here. Also consider, like, I'm on a small laptop computer. If I were on a big screen, would these lines be twice as long, or are they? Is the length of the line controlled by the width of the computer, or is there, for example, a frame inside here that says maximum width 7 inches or 8 inches or whatever it is? I don't know whether Wix, Google Sites, has that ability to limit, that this is going to stop at companies and R and go. Otherwise, looks good. Visually looks good. I really like these colors. They're kind of energetic, happy colors. This text, if possible, I feel like that could be slightly larger, but it might mess up all of your formatting, especially over here. Not sure. Play around with your text, and especially ask people who are over 40 if this text is easy to read. I think we haven't worked on CVs in this class, but I think it's a really good idea. It's a smart idea to include your CV. This is a bigger font than what you had on your landing page, and that's already easier. I think it's fine over here to do this in this size font, but like stuff where you're reading a line of text, that size looks easier to read for me. Okay, so this is interesting where you have projects and then you have your 3 projects listed under here. This makes sense in terms of if I'm presenting this website, this portfolio as a professional portfolio to get a job, then my 3 assignments in the class are all on one page. So are these written instructions and video, are they 2 different pages, or oh, I see, you've linked out to your Google Docs. I think it would be better to copy this information, including your screenshots, copy this information and put it into your Wix site, so that, especially, you can see your colleagues' commentary on your video. I think it would make more sense for this tab to open in a new page with the same purple and pink background, and then same deal, I'm sure in Wix you can embed, like Josh and Jay both embedded theirs in Wix. So rather than have this link out to your video on Google Drive, embed it in another page. And is it the same deal here? Yeah, same deal. I would say, yeah, for all of these, just try to replicate your formatting that you had on these summary and complaint and response, etc., and create those pages in here. And yeah, contact, separate page for contact, that makes sense. Otherwise, you could have your contact at the very bottom of the page on every page. That would make sense as well. So closing those. So here's Caitlin. This blue bar, I have no idea if Wix encouraged you to have this massive bar, but it's like 50% of the page that it's taking away from you. So it seems like if you can make that blue bar less screen demanding, it does look good there that this right side bar connects with the bottom, but I don't know. Play around with your. I think it's a loss of space if you're if you only have like 2 inches or so of vertical space. These PDFs. Now, if I click that PDF, it'll download. Like you can see that little download. So I have to then click on this PDF, and it opens my preview. And now I can read that. So there could be an advantage to, like, if your reader wants to have a copy of the PDF of whatever they're sending, that I can download this and save a copy. But what you might do is have a page of this project. Here's what I did, so that I can just have, like, it's a page within your Wix site. And then at the bottom, you have this icon. If you would like a PDF copy, go ahead and click here and download that. I think that for navigability, makes more intuitive sense. And uh, if you disagree with that, that's fine. Just argue, put your arguments against that strategy in your portfolio reflections, and that would be true for everybody. Like, oh, this is opening Word. That's also interesting. So this said, yeah, this said that it was going to open a PDF. I was expecting it to open my PDF reader again, but this one is now opening Word. So now I have, a web browser open, a PDF reader, and Word, and it's taking a little while. Oh, it didn't open up all the way. Okay, so yeah, same comment. I would create pages for all of these guys, and so does the PDF have a does the PDF have a video embedded in it? No. Okay. To be completed. All right. So next, Nate. I think I like the color. The color's interesting. Do you like the fuzzy logo? Surely there's got to be a clearer one. Like, you could make it muted, like it's behind a sheer white, like, consider whether you like the out of focus US Army. Is it pixelated, or did you intend to make it out of focus? This now text over the background becomes more difficult to read. So like, if you put like a white hazy filter over that background, it would make it easier for this to read. Maybe not white, gray, to make the contrast between the text and the background, to give it more contrast. Okay, same situation here. We have three colors competing, and two dark colors competing. So the background versus the foreground text is difficult to read. You have one photo, I think, makes sense. With two photos, does that? What's the purpose of the same photo twice? And that, for example, here we are again with text that's difficult to read. See if you can find also, it seems like you should be able to find a clearer image of School of Engineering. Contact me goes to that. That's fine that you have contact down here and it's up there at the same time. Fine. Gallery, what's in there? Okay, so you have to, if you have your links to your TechCom projects here on Gallery, fine, but do you want to rename it from Gallery to, TechCom projects, or, whatever would be appropriate? So also, rename your site to maybe your name, something like that. And next, so here's Touch. This looks to me like a stock photo, and I don't think, if I remember correctly, you are not in a medical profession degree. Same comment as Nate. Keep in mind, is your text difficult to read on top of an image? Do you want to keep this? Also, change Surfrider. Do you want to keep this text or just make it go away? These photos, they're the stock image for this template, but think about whether you want, think about how the photos relate to your work. So your work. And here we have, okay, complaint response, good. Video, project demonstrates my professional writing, fine. Feasibility report, fine. Is this going to be another button in the same format like this? Down here, you could put your CV, like we saw with Isabella. So let's look at the instructional video. It's just a JavaScript link that is not opening JavaScript window. So if these, for example, like if these are JavaScript windows and a second window opens, like a pop-up on top of here, and the pop-up is your formatted complaint and response, and then you can like X that out and close that little window that opened on top of your other site, totally makes sense to me. Same with your instructional video, that in terms of navigation, that would make a lot of sense. Next, let's see, summary, complaint, response. I think it makes sense to start with your reflection. I think that text, even though that text is super small, I can read it okay. I think you could bump up the text font like one notch with no penalty. Nobody would, with that amount of text, this amount of text in the same size font, this is a little bit more difficult to read than just one line. These how, like, if you scroll over summary and then you go outside that field and they pop up, these can get a little bit troublesome, because you're chasing around these invisible boxes that contain summary, complaint, response. So if I click complaint, will it jump down? Yes, it jumps straight to complaint, so that bookmark right there. So, but does it make sense to have to separate these, to separate the summary from the complaint? Because if you separate the complaint from the summary, from the response, do they each make sense in isolation, or does it make more sense to have all of these together? And I think it would make more sense. Oh, I see. I was expecting this to be reflection and then summary, complaint. Yeah, consider, does it make sense for your viewer, your reader, to click on summary, complaint, response, and then read the reflection? But then as you're reading down, it's like, wait, this is no longer the summary, complaint, response. Now this is the instructional video, but this is the next tab, and I still have this other material under this heading of summary, complaint, response, but I have to click through to the summary and then to the complaint. You're requiring your viewer to do a lot of clicking to get to these. So it seems like it would make more intuitive sense to click on that one link, and then it opens reflection and summary and complaint, and you can just read it as a story, so to speak. So let's see, instructional video, okay, same format. Reflection, I think it would make the same comment. Like if you click that, that should be a self-enclosed page, capsule, whatever it is, that gives you the instructions and the video. And it requires a lot of like jumping around from page to page for your viewer. All right, Nicole. So I guess I would expect some sort of something down here at the bottom, like a little brief intro, whatever it is, complaint and response, and good. Looks good. This text, I don't know, what are we on? Google Sites. I don't know if they allow you to like determine the width of the page. I think this is fine to have this page, scrollable page in here, but I would definitely make this larger. Like give us a few inches of readability. It feels like I'm like peeping through the slats of a fence or something like that to read the complaint. I don't think I would read through the whole document if I was reading through this narrow opening like that. So see if you can play around with Google Sites to make that. Oh, I see, you can pop that out, but that opens a new window. And that, like, if I already have a few pages open, maybe that's okay. Anyway, I stay with my first. Oh wait, but that popped out into Google Sites, or sorry, Google Docs. Well, the formatting is actually okay. But another thing to imagine is I have a Google account. I'm logged into my Google right now. If try this out on a web browser that you have no passwords saved in, and if you click this in another web browser, does it say, oh, you must have a Google account to view this Google Doc, sign in? Like, it's just one more hoop for your audience to jump through. It's one more hassle. So, like, I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure in Safari, I don't have any passwords saved in this. So this is the same process. Oh, okay, good. So you do not need to have a Google account to look at this document. So, because I'm not signed in at the moment over here. So disregard that. But do regard this business about making this a little bit easier to read, so you maybe don't have to make that little pop-up business. And your reflection, for your reflection, why not just paste it into the page rather than have this window? I guess consider that for all of that. Does it make more sense to format it into the page itself where this text is, rather than have this embedded window of Google Doc text rather? So, okay, next, Sam. All right, super short bio, totally fine. We can find out more about you from your resume if we want. And good, easy to read, complaint response. If you are dealing with a large company with lots of money to sue you, good to do a disclaimer. So you have your summary, complaint. This lives inside the page, so no window where I can only read 4 or 5 lines at a time. So that's easy for the person navigating your site. And complaint response video. Good. Clear, easy to read. And is that the video? Okay, it does say instructional video, so there is a prompt there for you to play it, but it's not playing. Is it playing? Okay, now it's playing. The music's pretty loud. Is that just my volume? Okay. Never mind. Looks fine. Yeah, so it looks good. Next. Soraya. So consider if you are building a site on Wix and you use their stock imagery, and Caitlin has applied to the same job you applied to. Where is she? So Caitlin has the same image that you have on yours. So you might want to do a different, you can still use free on the internet images, but you get the idea. Like, if there's an employer thinking, oh wait, I just saw this, didn't I? Maybe I should skip Soraya because I just saw that. Now this is interesting. Your footer bar, does not cut out this area here in the middle. So in terms of Caitlin, it looks like it is possible to do that. Brief bio, totally fine. You don't want to make people read too much right away. Complaint response. The contrast, like the white on dark background, I think looks totally fine, and you've made your font relatively large, so it's easy to read. These all look good. Good. And your video. Gonna learn how to play some piano. Yes, and the video is embedded. No logon necessary. Looks good. My wife made fun of me that I didn't know this. I had never heard this song before. So yes, this looks good. All right, next. Shayna, brief bio, good. Do you want your pop-up, maybe you like it where it's just hidden up here in the corner? Consider did a template force you into every time your viewer wants to look around for more stuff, that the buttons are not here immediately available, but they're buried one deep underneath another button. Consider what you as an employer would want from, like, you've been clicking through 20 or 30 applicants. Do you want to keep clicking? This text, I think we talked about this. It feels like I'm repeating myself. This text looks like the kerning, like the characters are relatively close together and the font is relatively small. So this is a little bit tough to read. I'm not sure if I should get closer or further away to read it well. I like the side-by-side compare contrast. And maybe to do that, you need to stay with this smaller font. I think this font is easier to read in small chunks. This larger paragraph is harder to read. This is definitely harder to read. Maybe the solution is to chop this summary into paragraphs with white space in between your paragraphs so that your eyes can more easily follow the lines. And okay. Oh, you didn't include your reflection. Did you make that choice or did you just forget? And your video, cookies, looks good. And easy to, yeah, I think we talked about this too. Like you said that when you bumped up the font, it got all squirrely. So that could be a Google Sites thing because I'm pretty sure they limit how many font options you have. So, okay. And back home. So home you can click and it's also a drop-down menu. So navigationally, I guess that's a little bit strange that it's both a hover over, scroll over, and it's also a live click. Okay, next. Angela, so I need permission. What is that? I don't know if that's your video or if that's a text thing. So, complaint and response. And yeah, so who was that had, I can't remember now who it was that had the really narrow Google Doc. But this is totally comfortable to just scroll through, fine. So Angela, if you like it where it's a scrolling window inside a larger scrolling window, if that's your choice, fine, good. But I think, if you're going to do that, this amount of text to be able to read this makes a lot more sense. And why not, if I'm already scrolling, why not include the summary of the problem along with the response to the summary and the complaint and the response, all of it in one embedded window document like we just saw. And that appears to be not loading. Let's look at the complaint. So be sure that all of your material is loading. And yeah, anyway, I think this works. I think this scrollable document works, but I would just put your all four elements into that same document, just so that you don't force your audience to be clicking around a lot. This looks good. This side-by-side square image, and then your video will play. I think where are your written instructions? So somewhere on here, I think it would make sense to have your written instructions included, and I don't see them, especially for your process, because you have code that you would just want to copy and paste into your terminal window. So, okay, good. Next. Ben. So this black on green and white, I would consider undergrad is hard to read. This is okay, but the text is so small that you might not notice at first. So maybe bump up this text and then play around with colors. What colors make more sense in front of that green and white background? So I can't remember who it was, but somebody else had their text center justified. See if you can change your justification to the left edge. Is much easier to read. I think once I get to like around here, I would probably give up on reading a center justified text. My wife is in there vacuuming. It's going to make a lot of noise. Just moving out of the way. So, and with the reflection, it might help also with your readability if you do what I said to somebody else, like you make hard returns within that text to make shorter paragraphs. That way these long lines, your eye doesn't get tripped up from one line to the next. And about... Do we have an about? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so you just have a tab here. So you're about, maybe you could include your CV, something like that. But yeah, it looks good so far. Just more work to do. So Chris, this stock photo, consider changing out the stock photo. Oh, I like that it's the photo is staying relatively stationary and the background is moving. That's interesting. So this is laid out like a CV, it looks like. And you still have the stock text. So consider, are you gonna put your CV into their layout? And education, same deal. Are you gonna put your education into their skills? This is where you could put your TechCom projects. And okay, so as it is right now, it's all the template that Wix gives to you. Projects, I'm assuming this is going to be like your complaint response stuff. but it's not here. It's still the template. So so you have a template, but you haven't plugged in your work so far. So figure out if this template is gonna be suited to your complaint response instructional video and your proposal. Oops. Want that. Burritos. And I think the look is good, clean, easy to read, clear colors, good contrast. The video, I'm sure in ArcGIS Story Maps, I'm sure you can embed your video. In fact, I think later we're going to see Alina's example of that. If you're not sure, do a Google for embed video ArcGIS, and yeah, I'm sure you can do it. So yeah, and with this website builder, this is all like one long running page. So once you hit the video, then you'll have to do like a transition between your instructional video and then your complaint response projects, etc. And Michael, so you have some text overlap between your name or the title and your home. So try to figure that out. Fine to have draft at this point, change that later on. These make sense. Big tiles. So I would expect the instructional video to go to the same place as the tile down below. The link to the instructional video, even if it works, I think it's fine if you host your video on YouTube. That makes plenty of sense. Tons of people do that. But why not embed your YouTube video into this page? And then if I go back to home, scroll down, and instructional video. Okay, that's interesting. That one link that says instructional video takes me to a link, and then this one takes me to another. Oh, I see. These all you flip through these tiles. So these all need to be, if you want to use these tiles, they need to be linked. So otherwise this whole JavaScript, these tiles are going to be doing different tasks compared to the stuff up here. So notice this, here you have instructional video. I would expect your instructional video tab, when you click through here, to have the text and the embedded video. Here, why have complaint letter, response letter, and then you have 3 tabs that represent parts of one project. Why not have one tab that says complaint, response, summary, reflection, whatever it is, and have all of those on one page, and then you scroll vertically to read the whole thing. So you'd have instructions, complaint response, etc., and then your proposal later on. Okay, well now we'll see if Alina has her video in here. So kind of a foreboding C. Quote from President Kennedy. A little background on the author of the portfolio. Sample works. Makes it okay. So this is the deal with ArcGIS, is that there's no pages. It's all one long page. Like if I click on these, it'll jump down to the bottom, but there's no separate page. It's all it's a linear story. So this little window is a summary of the project, and then this, let's see, this opens, you can see the dialogue down in the lower left. This opens a link to the document on Google Docs. as a PDF. So the formatting, if it's a PDF, I imagine the formatting will be, you know, clean, easy to read. So here you have, okay, so there's the complaint, the summary, complaint, wait, sorry, okay, this looks like it is the summary, there's the complaint letter, there's the response, and there's the reflection. So there's the whole assignment, and then you go back to her page. So I think in this case, it makes sense to have a little summary, and then if you want to view the writing sample like in its original state, click on that, and that opens another page. Also consider, she decided rather than having to open another program to read the PDF, it stays in the same program. It opens a new tab in your web browser, so you're not leaving the program. You're staying with the same program. It's a style choice and a navigation choice. So once again, summary and repeating the same layout so that once I've learned it, I don't have to learn something new. So this is going to take me to Google Drive. Will it be a PDF? Will it be a video? What is it? So video. Fine. And then if we go back here, will there be the instruction, like the, oh no, so no text instructions. Consider whether you want to have a second bubble that has your text instructions, because I don't see it. Yeah, I don't see it on this page or over here. And then feasibility to be announced. All of that, good. Looks good. And then consider if you want to include your CV somewhere in here. And do we have anybody else? Is Alina the last one? Okay, that's everybody. So going back to the guidelines, keep in mind as you're revising your portfolio, adding stuff in as we're doing our proposal this week, is your portfolio site addressing your intended audience? And remember that you're kind of aiming for prospective employers so that it would be appropriate for a naive audience, not your professor. Even though, yeah, your professor is your audience. Target your portfolio at a naive audience who's like, what have you done? What can you do? And then let's see. And then in terms of the purpose, for example, like with some of the like the look of the portfolio, like depending on the purpose of your portfolio, if you're more artsy, maybe Jorge was, I'm forgetting now what he was studying, but maybe that purpose suits, the website suits his purpose. So keep in mind, the guidelines, and these in the rubric come out of the guidelines. So, and as always, email if you have questions, and then I'll typically post those questions, anonymous questions, to the whole group.